It's Gorman in the morning with Fletcher and Ryder. Now, 92 KQRS.
Happy Friday. Gorman in the morning on Minnesota's 92 KQRS with Fletcher.
Good morning. Hey, you know what?
What?
Key card worked again.
Wow,
Here
man.
I am.
Well, miracles
Here I
never
am.
cease. And Ryder is on board because, of course, if she weren't here, we wouldn't know what to do. Good morning, Ryder.
Deuces, boys. I'm excited. Show number 2.
Show
Deuces.
number 2. The new realm continues. First things first. Everybody who chimed in yesterday and continues to chime in on all of our social media on the KQ Talk and Text line, thank you. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah.
As we're doing, as Ryder just said, day 2 of a new vibe here and a new show and a new direction. And nothing short of phenomenal passion from comments. And not everyone loves this, and that's okay. We understand that. Radio is a very personal thing. I have watched stations I love go through change, and sometimes you love it, sometimes you don't love it. We fully understand that. More than anything, I'm gonna on the heels of what we talked about yesterday. The legacy of this station was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt yesterday with the number of people commenting. And again, I look at the comments that are positive. I look at the ones that are supportive. I look at the ones that are calling me bad names, and I see the same thing: true passion.
100%.
And I appreciate that to the depths of my soul. My dad ran a radio station when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I grew up obsessing, listening to the radio. Sunday nights was Casey Kasem, on the way to school with Paul Harvey, and everything in between. My love of radio and my excitement about doing radio continues to grow. It's a huge thing for me. It's a huge thing for you, Paul. It's a huge thing for you, Ryder. Ryder, you grew up with this very station.
Oh, damn straight. Yeah, I've been listening. This was the first station that we listened to. It was on the car when we're driving up to Detroit Lakes where my grandparents lived. It was like, it was point of no return when KQ started to fade out. So
That's right.
And then we had to put tapes in. So, yeah, it is in my blood.
And then the argument started. It was all good as long as KQ is on. And so we are very excited about where we're going, and we're excited to take you with us. And and as we said, if this is something you're not thrilled about, we fully understand that. We do. And with respect, we say, well, maybe you'll come around, and we hope you do.
I was shocked and amazed by the number of comments about your hair.
Well, you know,
it is a statement.
You cut 96% of your hair off, and people notice. That's the weird thing.
In fairness, Ryder, when we had our very first lunch and he walked in, the very first thing you said to him was a comment about his hair.
Yeah.
So
I said it. I think I dropped an F-bomb and said it before he walked in.
Here's the crazy part. My mom passed away last month, and so I've had several people say, and very nicely, they're like, oh, I guess you got a haircut for the funeral. And it's like, no, after. No, I look like a hobo in the photos from my family when we were all together. I don't think there was a connection there. It's just one of those things. I just, you know what happened? My hair turned gray and lost all of its luster and curl. How about that?
The curl went?
How about that? The curl went.
Oh,
it was like, I've had the same hair. My hair's looked the same for 30 years. And all of a sudden I was like, what's happening with my hair? I think I'm done. I'm too old. I don't care. I just cut it all off.
Yeah.
A year from now, it'll be long again, and I'll be like, see, I still have long hair, and now I'm used to it. I don't know.
Are you going to go Patrick Stewart and just do the chrome dome thing?
Nah, I don't think so. I like letting people know, no, I still have it. I just choose to keep it short.
I don't know about you, Ryder. I would contribute funds to see a crystal dome, though.
I had half a crystal dome over 30 years ago. I shaved the front half of my head. From the ears back, it was literally halfway down my back. I had the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon style, if you remember that movie. Full, not a mullet, full bald up to the ears, and then long ponytail halfway down my back in the back. And then I had a goatee, and then for a little while, at that same time, was walking around with eyeliner because I guess I wanted to look like a failed professional wrestler. And when I was on tour in a giant rock band in Europe, that made sense. And then I flew home, and I spent one day back in reality and went, I look like I have a head injury. I look like I'm literally struggling to get through the days. I think it's time I got rid of all my hair. So this is the third time I've just gone, get rid of all of it. Boom, done.
You're still, I look at you with marvelous envy because you know how they say that guys have big pickup trucks to compensate for something?
Yeah, sure.
I have a big beard to compensate for the lack of hair on my head.
You are not alone.
Yeah, no. A lot of that.
Guys.
Yeah.
This is an odd thing. And I said this to you guys the other day, I think. Several times in my life, I have been confused. I've had people come up to me and go, "Excuse me, Eddie?" And I always look at them in confusion, and I think, Eddie, and they think I'm Eddie Vedder. I'm not making this up. My wife will verify. And every time it happens, I just think, okay, first of all, I tower over Eddie Vedder. I'm 6'3". He's nowhere near that. And then secondly, I also don't look anything like him. I think we had a similar hairstyle for a while. But that's happened on enough occasions where it's an odd sort of vibe. Maybe I just give off Ed Vedder vibes. Maybe that's what I'm doing here.
Pretty cool, if you ask me.
I know. I'm trying to impress you. I'm trying to win back your appreciation with that. I know you're a Pearl Jam guy.
You never lost it. You never lost it. I can appreciate both of you.
I can throw somebody that way.
It's Gorman in the Morning with Fletcher and Ryder, 92 KQRS.
Gorman in the Morning with Fletcher. Paul Fletcher, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Hey. Sorry. You know what? I'll learn where the damn button is. Give me time.
These things happen. Ryder, good morning, Ryder.
Oh, man. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed I am today.
Yeah,
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah.
Day 2 for us, which means yesterday was day 1 for us. Paul, you had a good first day.
I did. It was pleasant.
It was pleasant.
It was lovely.
All the reviews I heard were good.
Well,
even me?
Especially you. I just got a call from, I'm blanking on his name. One of your buddies you played hockey with said he is so pumped about your new gig.
Wow.
Yeah.
That narrows it down to 600 or 700 people.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Hey, can I just say really quick?
Yeah.
I'm a simpleton.
Okay.
I'm easy. We played Pearl Jam and Pink Floyd this hour. I'm happy.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. Is that what you're saying? Doesn't take much?
It doesn't take, but that's, it's the power of music, baby.
So you have a thing for P bands.
I guess so. Yeah, Public Enemy, too. So, yeah, we're all over the place.
Next hour. And then who else we got?
Can we squeeze in Public Enemy, or does that totally break the rules?
Ooh, I like the silent P, Ryder.
Yes.
Maybe a little Primus a little later. Maybe we get the police going. This could go on all day. But a good first day for you. I have to assume that's about as good a first day as it can go. I mean, there's nothing was lit on fire. No one threw anything at you.
My key card worked the second day. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yesterday was as fun a first day as I think you could probably have in a professional career.
Ever had a bad first day at any job ever? Worst first day you ever had? How about that, Ryder?
Yeah.
Anything come to mind if I say worst first day at a new gig?
Yeah, a couple of things. I was working at basically a cube farm in Woodbury, and I was driving from Shakopee at the time, and it was maybe the second or third day.
Okay.
I am driving in right in the middle of rush hour, 7:30, and I hear that thump, 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 thump.
Oh, no.
Ooh, yeah.
Flat tire on 494 in the middle of rush hour. I did get over to the side, but if you've never broken down on the highway, just as cars go by.
It's tough.
Yeah, and didn't, of course, have the phone number for any of the managers at the job I was going to.
Okay.
So I can't let them know what's going on. So I'm supposed to be there at 8 o'clock, rolling maybe at 12:30.
Okay.
Real embarrassing.
I'm getting anxiety thinking about the anxiety you probably had in that moment. Like, that's brutal.
The other one was I was working at a cube farm, and it was maybe 4 days after I started working was St. Patty's Day. And of course, the guy in the cube next to me wants to show me the green that he's wearing. So he stands up, unzips his pants, and pulls them down to show me his green Homer Simpson boxers.
That's hardly appropriate. We don't need that.
No.
I thought you were going to say he went to pull them down, and accidentally the boxers went down too.
I'm just glad, honestly, with where that story was going, I'm glad he had boxers on.
Yeah, I was expecting a little green dye gone way wrong on that one.
Yeah. You too?
Fletcher, what do you got?
First day, first job, Burger King, working the drive-thru.
Probably not much more needed to be said.
Imagine the leadership that you have in that scenario, right?
Sure.
You're frazzled. You're young.
Yeah.
First person through the drive-thru drove off on us.
Oh.
So my very first, so here I am already nervous.
Sure.
And the jackwagon couldn't, be bothered to pay the $3.19 for the burger and fries.
Now, were you taking orders? Were you prepared?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I like to joke that's my start in radio.
And this is a while ago. So is this pre-headset Janice Jackson tour mic, or did you have like a button and an actual microphone, or did you have the headset?
It was a headset. It was a long time ago, but yeah, I had a headset. Yeah. But it was a big old, you can imagine.
Yeah.
Think of Zach Morrison, Saved by the Bell headset.
I never had a fast food job. I got hired at Wendy's.
Lucky.
and never reported for work because the very day I was hired to start at a Wendy's, I came home and that very day my dad said, "We've bought a restaurant." And I was like, "I'm sorry, we've done what? Who's we?" "We have a family restaurant. We're all going to work at the restaurant together." And I said, "Well, no, I just got hired at Wendy's." And he said, "No, you didn't." And the next day, I went to work at a restaurant for my dad for no money. So that was a whole different summer than I was expecting.
Wow.
Very, very different turn of events.
Wow.
I've had a lot of good first days because I've generally had jobs where there's no stakes, there's no risk. It's like, what's the worst that could happen? But the worst, for sure, I did get hired at a grocery store to work in the produce section, and I was supposed to start on Saturday at 10 a.m. First job. And I had worked at another grocery store a couple years earlier. So I was able to walk in and go, "You need someone in produce?" I worked produce 2 years ago. I know the drill. And it was not the same store, but it was the same chain, right? Different city, but same chain. And I said, "I'll see you Saturday at 10. Right on. Thank God I need this job." And what happened? About Saturday, 10, 12, 10, 13 a.m., my phone rang at my apartment. And I answered it. "Hello?"
Your dad bought a restaurant.
"Hello?" No. My dad had not bought a restaurant, but I had forgotten to go to work and was actually still asleep.
Oh.
And "Can I speak to Steve?" "Yeah, this is he." And I'm thinking, who the hell's calling me at 10 on a Saturday morning?
Yeah.
And the guy said, "Yeah, are you coming in?" And I'm so groggy. And I said, and he goes, "You're supposed to be at work 15 minutes ago." And these are the words that came out of my mouth. "I broke my foot." That's what I said. I broke my foot.
I broke my foot.
And I'm sorry, I meant to call. And I just heard and he just hung up. And I was like, I guess I'm not going to work there ever again. So that was the worst first day I ever had because I lied to the boss and didn't even show up for work. It's kind of hard to top that one.
How about this crazy coincidence? Mm-hmm. My dad, for 18 years of his life, was a produce manager at Red Owl.
Is that true?
Dead serious.
He had a lot of guys like me then. My worst day in produce, when I actually had a produce job, there was a Saturday morning in the summer of 1985. Got a 4 a.m. produce truck. You need to be here to unload it. Yeah. And that means me and one other guy unloading a semi of produce with the driver.
Right.
And that takes hours when you operate at the pace I was working at. And so I was there at 4 a.m. and we were done by probably 8 a.m. But then I still had to work my shift until noon, an 8-hour shift. And then at noon, I went back into the back room at the grocery store and had to take a nap. But I couldn't even drive home. I was like, I'm laying down here. This was the day of Live Aid. I'm the only person on earth that didn't see Live Aid in real time because I had to unload a damn truck full of cantaloupes and then I had to sleep it off. And by the time I got home, it was time to go out and it was Saturday night. So I missed all of London and then I was too pissed off to jump in late to Philadelphia. I missed every bit of Live Aid. That's me. I was the only guy I knew that didn't see it.
Working produce, did you ever get the banana that you opened or squash or whatever and then 700 spiders came out?
Never had that. But I did steal an amazing poster, a banana ripeness chart from the Dole Company, and I had it in the room of my dorm, and people were jealous. It was an awesome poster. I did have that going for me. Make no mistake about that. Hey, you can get Minnesota's 92 KQRS anytime, anywhere with the 92 KQRS app. I ain't making that up. Go get the damn app.
Gorman in the morning. Coming right back. 92 KQRS. Streaming from 92KQRS.com. Gorman in the morning is back. 92 KQRS.
Gorman in the morning. That's me, Gorman, with Fletcher and Ryder on a Friday, April the 4th, day number 2 of Gorman in the morning. We're very happy to have you with us. We're discussing worst first days on the gig ever. Any job you ever had, if your first day was memorable, especially if it really sucked, let us know. 651-989-ROCK is the KQ Talker text line. On the Facebook page, a few comments worth sharing. Dan wrote, dishwasher, $3.10 per hour, 1980. It
Wasn't
sucked.
that a lot of money for 1980?
Yeah, hell yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's a ton of money.
Once you went to 3 from $2.95, it was like, oh yeah. He wrote, it sucked, but it taught me to work hard to get what you want. Saved up enough money for my first drum kit. My dad went halves on it. Oh, yeah. 45 years later, I'm playing professionally. Rock on, Dan.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Man. Yeah. And he's got dishpan hands. That's
See? Yeah. You're soaking in it. I did not work hard to save up money for my first drum kit. I did work hard, but for a brief period of time. I worked at a blue jean distribution center And I had a job for about 2 months, and this is where I got the money to go buy a drum kit, where here's my job. A semi-truck backed into a loading dock at 8 a.m. On the dot, or it was already there at 8 a.m. when I walked in. And my job was to unload a semi with 3 other guys filled with blue jeans. And then we would take these jeans off of, it was like Chic jeans and Jordache jeans, and not Levi's, but bigger brands. And we would unload an entire truck full of blue jeans and then sort them in bins, 34, 36, 34, 36, 30, 32, just by size. Because they were not set up by size. They were set up by the color, acid wash or faded or dark blue. That's how they came to us. We then sorted them by size and color, and then took lunch break, and then after lunch, rebundled them in stacks of 48 by size and color and put them back on the same truck. That was our job.
How many pairs of jeans did you have to touch before you could get your drum kit?
Thousands and thousands over a few months period. And my boss the first day said, Now, when you get these jeans out here, you get them in the bins, and then you got to stack them in stacks of 48, right? You got to put 48 jeans in a pile, you rope them off, you tie them off with these, we got these threads, and you put them back on the truck. And I said, okay. I mean, I knew I can handle this job. This is dumb work, and I'm a dumb guy, so this will work for me. I went to build my first stack of jeans. I needed 48 pair of jeans piled on top of each other, which is, above knee high. It's a pretty good sized stack of jeans. And you lay them down on the floor, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got to like 6, and I went, well, I'm not just going to count to 48. I'm going to do like 4 stacks of 12. Just easier. Right. I start doing that, and the guy comes over and goes, hold on, man. I told you got to do a stack of 48. And I said,
I'm working on it.
No, I'm just doing 4 12s. And he goes, but what do you mean? And I said, well, if I count to 48, I could easily lose count. It's easier to just count to 12 4 times, and then I'll stack them all on top of each other. And he goes to me, he looks at me, and he goes, his name was Jimmy, and Jimmy said, man, you got to put them in 48. And I looked at him, and it dawned on me. I went, hey, man, I'm going to. See, there's 4 stacks of 12 here, and then I'm going to pile them together. 4 times 12 is 48. I could do 3 stacks of 16. I could do 6 stacks of 8. I could do 8 stacks of 6. I'm flexing my math skills.
You could do 4 stacks of 10 and then a pile of 8.
And he's looking at me like I'm speaking Greek. And then I said, do you understand? And then finally, like, the light slowly came on. And he called over another guy, and he goes, check out College Boy over here. That's a true story.
College Boy.
It's like you discovered fire.
Day 1, and I was College Boy for the rest of my tenure at the Flynn Distribution Center.
Which trucks were more fun to unload, produce or jeans?
Oh, the jeans by far, just because I had conversations like that, scintillating conversations about the meaning of life, the duality, the nature of humanity, love and hate. No, it really wasn't that at all.
Plus, the jean truck came at 8 and the produce truck came at 4, so that's another
big difference. Not so many conversations like that. But Dan, man, washing dishes to save up for the drum kit, that is strong right there.
Yeah, that is.
Gwendolyn on the Facebook page. Check this out. Right out of the Brown Institute. First radio DJ job. Training with some huge guy, also known as a station manager, in Hastings with a ginormous belly. He was pushing into my face. He had a white undershirt on and food spills all over it, smoking a heater, and all I could sense was predator energy. Never went back and unfortunately never pursued my on-air radio career. In hindsight, probably better off. Paul, do you have anything to say for yourself?
What?
I'm sorry. I just thought maybe.
That was absolutely uncalled for, completely out of line. Hey, was there any kind of year for that?
No. I'm just assuming.
Are you a brownie, Paul?
I'm sorry?
Are you a brownie? Did you go to Brown?
I'm not. No. I went to the School of Hard Knocks.
Okay.
There it is. There it is. You know what the funniest part of this whole thing is? I actually was a broadcasting major. This was plan A. I took a bit of a detour, and then I came back around, surprising no one more than me. Wow, this was a good idea in the 80s, and I guess it still is, like 10 years ago when I started doing this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about this one? Tim wrote on the Facebook page, baling hay. Didn't know I was allergic until my throat swelled shut and got a rash all over my body first and last day. That checks out. That checks out.
You know what else checks out?
What's that?
I wanted to date a girl named Tracy in high school. And going to her house to watch a movie on the couch. It was all super innocent.
Yep.
but we're over. And that's when I learned I was allergic to cats.
Oh,
and you know
boy.
what? And I'm talking hives. I'm talking nose,
right?
Swollen throat, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I'm a teen boy who's got the hots for a girl. You know what? We watched that freaking movie.
Of course you did.
Yeah, we did. And I got home, my mom goes, "What the hell happened to you?"
Yeah.
Mom's a nurse, by the way. Yeah, that was an unpleasant date.
On the KQ Talking text line, Carrie texted in, pulling weeds in a bean field, $1 an hour, 1974. True story.
Ooh, no.
I pulled tobacco $10 an hour in the 80s. I lasted not even one full day.
No, there's no way.
And by the way, that was $1,000 an hour to me in 1980, whatever the year it was.
Yeah, $10 an hour.
$10 an hour back then. And I was doing it with a bunch of old men. And the way, I won't explain to how you actually pick tobacco, but you don't stand up straight for a while, and all these guys couldn't stand up straight anymore. They were just bent over permanently, and I was like,
they needed yoga.
I don't think this is a career I want to pursue anymore.
I picked rock a lot of summers with Uncle Mark down on his farm for $0 an hour, but I got room and board at Uncle Mark's house, of course.
Well, that's
what a steal.
Yeah, hey, man, that works.
And home baked goods from Auntie Jane too. So there's
that's not bad.
Well, picking rock, yeah, that's not pleasant. We're talking about literally jump off the trailer. You got tractor, trailer rolling through the fields back and forth.
Yeah.
Jump off the trailer, grab big rock, put it on the trailer, and move on like that. Those are long, hot days in the sun.
There was a time in my life though where I would have paid to do that. Just to get out of whatever I was doing around the house. My dad looked at his sons. We were just a yard crew. We were just maintenance. We were just there to work and do stuff, like busy work.
Yeah.
Like, how's that yard looking? Oh, we cut it yesterday, remember? Well, there's probably some weeds you could find. Like, really? Can we just go to the pool?
Why don't you mow the lawn the other direction today? I know it was yesterday, but mow it the other direction today.
Yeah, he was pretty serious about that. I'm gonna Darcy, I think, wins the day.
Yeah.
My first day working at Applebee's was 9/11.
Oh,
no.
Don't need to get any details. Oh. That's enough for me. Okay, Darcy, congratulations. You have won the day.
It's Gorman in the morning with Fletcher and Ryder, 92 KQRS.
Nirvana Unplugged right there with David Bowie's Man Who Sold the World. That Unplugged set from Nirvana, recorded just a couple months before Kurt Cobain took his own life, released November 1st, 1994. I'll never forget the day that album was released.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because my band released our third album that same day. Oops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we should have looked at what else was coming out that week. You know what else came out that same day? Tom Petty, Wildflowers. Oops.
Oh.
Oops. We were in London for the big opening. We were in London for the big release week, and played a couple of tiny gigs at clubs, and really cool thing. And we had a big in-store at a Virgin Megastore record store the day our album was released. And we had been really big in England, and then Nirvana happened. And then they put that record out the same day, and we walked into a record store that was packed to the gills because everybody was buying the Nirvana record. And we were like,
you walked in, you're like, oh, this is awesome. Oh, wait.
And we were like, oh, you mean when somebody said don't put a record out the same time as Tom Petty Nirvana, we should have listened? Huh. Just another couple months might help.
I mean,
we could have waited.
I would imagine that stung Tom Petty even.
Yeah, not so much. Not he's got his people built in, different generation. The peer group in the shadow of Nirvana, to be sure.
Oh yeah.
And by the way, that album's that Nirvana Unplugged is fantastic. And Wildflowers, you'll have plenty of people arguing that's Petty's greatest album ever. So pretty thick stack of competition that day. I remember watching the Nirvana Unplugged and just thinking, my God, that's just the saddest thing ever. I mean, I told the story earlier. The first time I heard Nevermind, I just sat there and went, oh man, I like the first album, Bleach, which was on Sub Pop.
Yeah.
And I saw them in a club on that tour in like 89. And 2 years later, when someone said, have you heard the Nirvana record? It's going to be huge. I thought that meant, they'll play bigger clubs.
Yeah.
Because they're a punk band from Seattle on Sub Pop.
Sure.
And then I heard Nevermind and went, oh my God, this is going to take over the world. It was just inarguable that was going to work, and it did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it kicked. I like to say it kicked the door in for Seattle. I mean, it stormed through you know what I mean. Like it wasn't a gentle opening of the door. It was a kicking for sure.
Pretty much.
It took over the world. I mean,
absolutely did.
You had 6 months later? You had models walking down runways in France wearing flannel.
The other bizarre thing about that November 1st, 1994, the same night that we played a gig in London, and this is just remembered this. We're in London, and so the Nirvana record blew our in-store out of the water. We were like, damn. And then we go down to play this club, and we're backstage, and another guy, like from the record company, comes up to me, and he says to me, have you heard the Dave Matthews album? And Dave Matthews, this was their first album on a major label. The Dave Matthews Band had been building a little cult audience in the Southeast, but I didn't know who they were. I'd never heard of Dave Matthews Band. I had a good friend from college named Dave Matthews. And I had been talking to this guy a few minutes earlier, and he said, he came to me first, and the guy, record label guy, he was an American who lived in London, and he said, you went to Western Kentucky University? I said, yeah, I sure did. He goes, oh, and because he had some connecting point, and then a few minutes later said, oh, so you've heard Dave Matthews' record, right? And I immediately think of Dave Matthews, my friend from Western, and I go,
Dave Matthews?
I go, Dave Matthews? He goes, yeah. I go, he has a record out? He goes, I go, wait a minute, Dave, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, it's pretty cool. He's got this cool band.
I was in a survey course with him.
And he starts telling me all about, and I'm thinking, that guy's one of the best basketball players I ever met in my life. Never said a word about music, and I have a 5-minute conversation with this dude before it occurs to me. I go, wait, are you Dave Matthews from Cincinnati? He goes, no, I think he's from Virginia. He's actually South African. And I went, oh, we're talking about a whole different guy.
This is a different Dave.
There was a lot going on that day in my life.
Not the same Dave.
Yeah, it was. I was hoping it would be the same Dave, but it wasn't. These things happen. What are you going to do? But I do remember, back to the Nirvana, though, doing that Bowie cover was really something. I mean, one thing I'm very excited about what we're doing here.
Sure.
The good thing about time elapsing is you kind of burn down all the stupid genres that keep music separated. Genres were invented to sell records, to distribute and to segregate in literal and figurative audiences, guys and girls, black and white, whatever, different. Let's call that rock and roll, but that's more blues rock. This is country. Well, you know, and country music was where everything came from, the blues and rock, and so it was all just great music in the early 50s, and people realized we can sell this and market it way better if we just start separating. That's what it's always been. I'm not saying like, oh, we got to burn down the walls. I'm just saying that's what it is. The good news is 30 years later, I hear Nirvana doing David Bowie, and it makes perfect sense. But in 1993, let's not kid ourselves. We were like, they're doing Bowie?
Yeah.
That's crossing too many streams. Hold on a minute. That's like the end of Ghostbusters. Don't cross the streams, man. Kurt Cobain can't do a Bowie song, and it makes perfect sense now.
Yeah, it's like my guys Pearl Jam doing Last Kiss. J. Frank Wilson and the Cavaliers.
Yeah,
back when that came out, it was the same thing of like, what is happening?
I only knew that song from like a K-Tel commercial when I was a kid. And it was just like when you hear 3 seconds of a song.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're doing that song from the K-Tel ad in the early 70s? Wow, good for them.
It also shows, though, I think, questioning these influences and whatnot, it also shows how diverse that culture scene was, if you will. I mean, because Seattle is truly a melting pot, and it showed up in all of that music.
Sadly lumped together because those bands really all very, very different vibes and approaches. 100%. I mean, there was a hardness, there was an edge to those bands, but they were certainly hardly trying to come up with something where they could all get lumped in together for the rest of their lives.
I mean, just the big three: Soundgarden, Pearl Jam, Nirvana. Those three couldn't be any more different.
Well, they could be. There could be more cowbell. There could be sleigh bells. You could have little things to separate them.
A mandolin too would be.
You could make those things happen. It's an AMA Friday around here on Gorman in the Morning. Ask us anything.
Oh yeah, game on.
So I mean, what do you got? I'm curious. As we're still getting to know Paul. I'm curious how you met your partner. Let's talk about that. Why don't we move into some intensely personal business on Gorman in the Morning on Minnesota's 92 KQRS.
Gorman in the Morning. Coming right back. 92 KQRS. Streaming from 92KQRS.com. Gorman in the Morning is back. 92 KQRS.
Friday morning. Isn't that nice? Isn't it nice to know the weekend is upon us?
I like these 2-day work weeks.
Yeah.
2-day work weeks are always the best.
This is the plan going forward, right? We're just doing shows Thursdays and Friday.
Got that right, brother.
I love it. God, it's so good.
Want to say hey to everybody in Prior Lake. Glad to have you with us, Prior Lake, Minnesota.
The Lakers, yeah.
Prioir for those who are curious. Prior Lake.
Not like Richard Pryor.
We were discussing earlier weird days or bad days at work. Worst first day on the job, and then that led into some stories about weird days at work. I had a weird day at work, summer of 1989. I worked at a record store. And my band had gotten a record deal, and we went, and I took a couple weeks off because we had to make a record. And it was like, hey, man, I need a couple weeks off to make the big record. And I was feeling cool about myself. And then I went right back because we finished, as far as I knew. At least the drum tracks were done, and I had to go back to the record store. Mostly because I was already out of money after not working for 2 weeks. And there was no advance or anything. We hadn't even signed a deal. We made a record before we even signed a contract. We were not the business heads that you might assume we were. But I was back at work, and I would leave work and run to the studio to hear the overdubs. Oh, did you guys add a guitar solo? Cool, right on. And I hated that I couldn't be there all day, every day. I had to be back at the record store. Yeah. And I'm at the store one day, and the phone rings, and our producer, George, called the store and asked for me. I said, what's up? He goes, hey, can you come back and cut a track today? And I was like, what song? He goes, we're going to do that Angels one. And I went, oh, that song sucks. That's the oldest song we have. We're doing that. He goes, yeah, I want to give it a try. And I go, I don't know if I can get off work. And he goes, I'm going to have, Rich is going to play a guitar. He'll put an acoustic guitar to a click track, and you just run in and put drums to that. Just play it once or twice, and then you can get back to work. And I was like, he goes, I just want to see if it works. And I'm like, all right. And I asked my boss, I go, hey, man, can I get out of here for like 2 hours? It was like 3 p.m. He goes, yeah, you got to be back to close. Be back by 6:30 because the last hour of the day was always really busy because record stores used to be where people hung out before the Apple stores showed up. And so I was like, sure. And I race like a bat out of hell across town. I get to the studio. I go in there. I listen to it once. I sit at the drum kit. I play the song twice. And I'm like, this isn't going to work. He goes, it's worth a shot. And then I went back to work and thought, well, that was interesting, and I'll never hear that again.
What a waste of time.
And it was a huge waste of time. And as it turned out, always, don't trust the drummer, because what it actually turned out to be was a song that was a pretty good hit for my band, the Black Crowes.
It's Gorman in the Morning with Fletcher and Ryder, 92 KQRS.
Gorman in the Morning on Minnesota's 92 KQRS with Fletcher and Ryder. The Minnesota Twins had their home opener yesterday. A 5-2 loss to the Astros. The team is 2-5 right now.
Are you seeing this story come through about no beer at Target Field this year?
What? No.
Twins lost the opener.
I'm sorry?
What? Say that again?
Twins lost the opener. No beer at Target
the open.
Field. Yes.
The beer.
Wow.
I get it.
I heard Tim McNiff tell that story on tell that dad joke on Care 11 maybe 25 years ago, and I still pull it out every time.
Every time. I like that.
Time.
Wow.
Did not make it to the game. None of us were at the game yesterday. Although, fun fact, my wife and I decided to get a late lunch, and she said, there's a place she wanted to go. Someone recommended it to her, a buddy, and it was over like in the North Loop at like, say, 2:30. Oh. Oops, we forget. And we drive right over there, and I'm like,
"Oh boy, yeah, that's trouble."
Wait, that's right, the home opener. And so, of course, there's nowhere to park, and we're just sitting, going nowhere after red light after red light. It was a zoo, and so we ended up. I said, "Well, screw it." So we went to Matt's and had a Juicy Lucy. This whole different vibe.
That's always a good call.
Much better up. So I was watching the game at Matt's, and Twins got, get that leadoff triple, or not a leadoff, but, first inning, and it's going good. And then all of a sudden I look up, and then we're giving up back-to-back homers. And I didn't see the whole game there, but I watched the first few innings. And then all of a sudden, we lose the game. And I was like, well, okay.
Yeah. An early triple followed up by giving up home runs. That doesn't sound like the Twins at all.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Hey, can I be vulnerable for a moment?
Vulnerable?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay.
It's day 2. I mean, it's show 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Double, what did you say? Double your trouble?
Deuces.
Deuces. Double deuces.
Double your pleasure.
Double your pleasure.
Your fun.
Double your fun. I've never had a Juicy Lucy at Matt's.
Oh, really?
Can you believe that?
Well,
Minnesotan.
Yeah, it's... But then again, how many people that grow up in Washington, D.C. have ever gone to the Lincoln Memorial? You know what I mean? There's just different things. When it's in your backyard, you take it for granted.
Wow, you guys are way less offended than I expected. I expected you to just throw me outside.
No. We will talk about you behind your back. We won't make fun of you right here.
That is Minnesotan.
Yeah,
very, very, very
the
Minnesotan.
Passive-aggressive way.
Yeah.
It just gives you something to look forward to. It gives us a plan. It gives me a reason to go back soon, which is to drag your ass in there and give you one.
I would love that. Am I wrong, though? Is a Juicy Lucy overrated? I love burgers.
No, it's great. I've been to Matt's. Right. I've been here a little over 2 years. I've been there 4 or 5 times. It's not like a monthly thing.
Times. Yeah, I've been there.
Because a few months ago I had a buddy in town, and he, specifically said, "What's this thing I hear about a Juicy Lucy?" I said, "I'll show you." You know, and he's someone because he was coming to visit, and a buddy from Minneapolis said, "You got to go to Matt's," and so I took him, and so these things happen.
Fair enough. That works. I've had a lot of buddies come through town. I've never been to Matt's.
No.
The last time I had my friend who I referred to as my meat guy because he sells meat to like Hy-Vee and stuff like that, but lives in South Dakota, came through town, him and his boss. They were like, we got to make it to Matt's. And meat experts said, this is the best burger. It is worth every bite. Yes. All of the Hy-Vee said it was in.
When they said, do you want onions? The answer is yes.
Yes.
Just take my word there.
If it can be a smashy from Wells Roadside or even Red Cow, something like that, or Parlor, which is the best burger in the state, then we'll have something.
I don't know about the best burger in the state. I can tell you what I'm going to eat at my first Twins game, and I'm not making this up. There's some new items every year.
Yeah.
I will have the grilled Spam sandwich at Target Field.
Nice.
If we go together, can we cheers our grilled Spam sandwiches?
Of course we
because
can.
That is, I actually think that sounds really good.
Seared Spam patty, caramelized onions, and bacon on a toasted onion bun. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, please. May I have another?
Yeah. Not saying this. I didn't even know Spam was from Minnesota until I moved here. I don't eat Spam often, but when I do, I'm always very appreciative of the opportunity.
And well, in the way that they're preparing this, it almost sounds like a hopped up slider from White Castle.
Kind of, but
I'm maybe not the onion bun.
It's going to be a little bigger.
Oh, bigger, and it better be better because you're going to pay $27 for it, I'm sure.
How about the Keeper's Heart vanilla creamed whiskey? Wait, Keeper's Heart rye whiskey with vanilla cream, Monin syrup, and soda will bring you back into the old-fashioned soda shop. See, I don't care about the sweet stuff. I just want another burger.
You like your
Spam sandwich.
Anything with booze at a stadium or arena, I'm just guessing it's going to be a $20 minimum.
That's probably a very safe bet. Yeah, I would think so. You've got your Crammer Chuck, still got the Brat Sampler. The Brat Sampler with locally made Polish bratwurst and cherry bomb sausages, grilled onions, and kraut on the side. I'll go for a Brat Sampler anytime.
I've seen this. It comes in like a briefcase.
I call it a flight.
It is. It's a brat flight.
I'd like a brat flight.
Skip the sauerkraut.
But
the rest of it, I'm all in on.
I can do a lot of damage at a ballpark. I'm not gonna lie to you. The worst ballpark food experience of my life was as an uncle, not as because I took my nephew to a game and he was probably 8. And Rosemary and I took our nephew Brian to a ball game, visiting family in Baltimore. We go to Camden Yards, and he's 8, and he wanted. When we got there, a hot dog. I said, sure. Gave him a hot dog. For a little while later, he goes, can I get some popcorn? Sure. Got him some popcorn. A little while later, he's like, ooh, Twizzlers. I go, here's some Twizzlers. I'm the greatest uncle ever. And then he saw, and then he decided maybe a cheeseburger. It went on for, like every other inning, he asked for something, and I said yes every time. And at some point, Rosemary goes, how much can this kid eat? Do you think that's a good idea? And I said, when I was his age, I could eat all day.
Yeah.
And he did, and he ate all night. And we went to the game and had a great time, and I was his coolest uncle ever. And then we drove home.
Threw up in the car.
And no. He waited until he got into bed because we kicked him out of his room, so he bunked up with his sister, and he went to sleep in her bed and threw up all over her.
No.
Yes. Oh, it was a big one, too. And his mom looked at me and was not happy. But why did you give him all that food? He asked for it. And my brother and his wife were looking at me like, "Oh my God, you're the dumb one." Okay,
no,
you don't know how stomachs work. Yeah,
I'm the uncle. I'm not the father. I'm not the mother. I'm the uncle.
And then
he asks, and I say yes.
To double down, to add insult to injury, a couple years later, he asked me for a drum kit. Didn't ask his dad for a drum kit. He asked his uncle. And you know what his uncle did? Sure. And I said they got one delivered. And my brother called me and he goes, what is wrong with you? Why would you bring a drum kit into a house with a child? And I said, because I'm the cool uncle. And I'm
not the dad.
Yeah, man.
I'm the uncle.
There was a drum kit in my house when my kids were little. And I was like, boy, this is a bad mistake.
Is this secretly your least favorite sibling?
No, he was my favorite sibling, my mentor in life. I was just doing my best. I was doing everything I could. I was trying to please everybody. But yeah, and not the only time I gave a drum kit to a nephew and or niece, and it never was received well by parents. No one likes it when you show up and say, here's a drum kit for your child.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But you're giving them so much more than that. It's just
the memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to have, the parents are going to look back and they're going to be so glad that you gave them that drum kit.
You know what I'm doing?
Day.
You know what I'm doing? I'm planting what I call dream seeds.
Dream seeds.
Yeah.
I like it. Hey, is that a good name for a band?
Dream seeds. Dream seeds.
Yeah, but you have to overthink it and spell it like CEDE and dream secede and then dream secession and then it's a southern thing and then it's nonsense.
No, you know how it is. Just take out all the vowels. That's how it is now. Just DRMSDS. Dream seeds. Yeah, and all one word.
Dream seeds. It sounds like you know what? It's funny. I was at IKEA and I was measuring for a dream seeds and it didn't fit in the nook I needed it. So we went with something else. 92 KQRS.
Gorman in the morning. Coming right back. 92 KQRS. Streaming from 92KQRS.com. Gorman in the morning is back. 92 KQRS.
Gorman in the morning with Fletcher and Ryder on Minnesota's 92 KQRS. Peter Gabriel, the man responsible for my favorite concert I saw last year.
Okay.
At the Xcel Energy Center.
Yes.
Wow.
Phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah, Peter Gabriel came out in an arena full of people and spent the first 5 minutes talking. And you could have heard a pin drop. Everybody was listening, hanging on every word, and he brought the musicians out one at a time. Well, first song, just he and Tony Levin, and then a few people, and then a few people. And by the end of the first set, you had a full band on stage playing songs, none of which had been released yet.
Really?
So do that go to an arena and play 9 songs in a row no one's ever heard, and literally no one checked out. Everybody was so dialed in, and then to finish the first set, because he said, I'm going to take a break, they kicked into Sledgehammer. And as they say, the roof blew off the joint. It was awesome. Nice. And then the second set was like all the stuff you've heard before. It was... And I remember thinking that my 2 favorite shows last year were Peter Gabriel and The Cure. And I was like, man, the old guys have still got it. Got it going on.
I had the same experience August 2023. My wife and I went for a quick weekend in Vegas to see Duran Duran at the T-Mobile. Okay. No business. Simon Le Bon has absolutely... I mean, the musicians can still play, sure. But Simon Le Bon's got absolutely no... He's got no right to have a voice like he does still at 65 years old. It's unbelievable how good. I'm not saying he sounded like he was 32 or 25.
Okay.
But he might, I mean, 30.
Look, I'm gonna come clean. I'm gonna come clean. When you said I had the same experience, I went to see Duran Duran. I thought this was a setup for a bit. I thought it was a joke. Sorry. And I'm not saying anything against Duran Duran.
I'm saying the old guys can still do it is what I'm saying. Like,
all right.
Holy smokes.
All right, fair enough.
I felt the same way when I saw Judas Priest. Rob Halford can still wail.
Sure, so, he absolutely can.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Vegas in forever, and I was thinking of going. My son's going to see the Dead and Company, whatever they call it now at the Sphere. And I'm like, I should probably go. But I'm like, no, if I could teleport, I would. But the truth is, I just don't want to go. I just don't want to go anywhere. I had a last few months. I was back and forth a lot dealing with stuff, and I'm just not ready to go anywhere. You know what I mean? We just had a little break, and I had a lot of family. You know, my mom passed away, and it's not the kind of travel you like. And right now, I'm like, I'm not doing nothing. I'm not going within I'm not leaving a 5-mile radius of my home. Ryder, you just went.
You went to Antarctica. Did you adopt some penguins?
I'm sorry. What?
We've been saying for like 2 weeks. Steve Gorman's in Antarctica.
Oh, I see. That's how checked out I am. I didn't even realize. You were out west. You were out in the desert, though.
Yeah, I bounced out. We were, off for a little bit, and part of that was technically vacation. I did bounce out to Phoenix for a weekend, and I glimpsed the future, Steve.
Peyote.
You're always
ayahuasca.
You're always bringing up peyote.
When I go to the desert, that's what I think of. I've never done peyote, but I just think, you get a cactus, you get a scorpion, you do some peyote.
No, Connell's brought this up. I got to ride in a Waymo.
You did?
Yes.
Really? And how was that? The driverless Uber, basically.
Driverless Uber. It was a freaking trip, dude.
Really?
Yes.
Did you feel safe?
No, I was I was clenched the entire time. Like I was on edge the whole time. And the thing about the Waymos is, and this is probably the reason Connell hasn't done it yet in LA, they don't go on the interstate.
Okay.
So you've got to strategically plan your Waymo like pickup and drop off because they're only doing surface streets.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can't have anybody in the driver's seat. The steering wheel moves independently. It's real freaky. We're buzzing along just on a straight road. There's a little bit of construction in the middle. There's some guys with some cones. The Waymo starts braking. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is not the time to be braking. It's so trippy.
Would you do it again?
Oh, yeah, we did it a couple of times. Mm-hmm. I prefer the just a regular rideshare, Lyft or Uber with an actual person because, one, we probably do need to get on the interstate. Mr. Ryder's a big fan, though, because you don't have to tip.
Oh, really? I guess that would make sense.
That is, strategically.
But is it more expensive than your average Uber, do you think?
He said it was a couple bucks more than the Uber, but then there's that tipping factor, so it's probably going to even out. The other thing about these Waymos is they're all Jaguars.
I was just going to ask you that. I was just going to say, is it it's the electric Jaguar?
Yeah.
You know what? So I've got a buddy who sells. I'm a big car nerd. We'll learn this as we go along. And these things started popping up, and I went. My immediate reaction, like a month or two ago, when they really started showing up on socials, is like, oh, that's what they did with all the Jaguars because they stopped selling them.
Yeah,
wow. They were a colossal failure. I don't know why. We drove one for a weekend, and it was amazing.
Okay, stupid question. You're in the Waymo, so there's no driver, but is there still like there's a steering wheel with a driver's seat?
It's a regular electric car.
Yes, and you are not allowed to sit in the driver's seat.
That's my first question.
And there's signs all over it that say, don't touch the steering wheel.
Yeah.
I wasn't on for this ride, but my husband and his boss were dropping off another friend in the car, and they were trying to get out of a parking lot, and the Waymo, like, it had a brain freeze. It wouldn't move forward because there were too many pedestrians walking by in other cars, and it kind of just froze there.
Okay.
So there's a button you push to, like, call for service, like, oh, crap, we're in trouble. And then somebody at a remote location takes over the car and, like, drives it out of the park or whatever you need to do.
This is going to be, we'll look back on this one day as like, remember when we were having that conversation about how weird it was? This is like, there was a time 60 years ago where somebody was like, no, really. And I was standing over the ball and I had my putter and then the windmill moved and I had to time the putt to go through. It's the same conversation.
It's like when Katie Couric asked, what's internet?
What is a email address?
Yes.
I like when you take an unexpected trip to the future because of technology. I've had two come to mind in my travels, and the first one, and they're both out of the country, and it's like you can't help it, but you grow up, and for all of us, we live in the United States of America. It's the greatest country ever. It's the greatest country on earth. And then if you travel, sometimes you find out, maybe not the great. It's still good, but maybe some people got a leg up on us on certain things.
They've got a few years on us and some learning.
First time I went to Japan with the band, 1992. So think about 1992, the lives we were leading and the technology we were utilizing. In 1992, we landed at the airport outside Tokyo, Narita, and we go through customs and get through immigration and the whole thing. And then they have they don't have like a big van or a tour bus. They had like 4 or 5 cars, 2 guys in a car to take us all to the hotel, which is like a 90-minute drive.
Okay.
We get into our cars, and right there on the dashboard is a screen with GPS. 1992 satellite GPS, and every taxi in Tokyo, which is a very congested and very busy city, every time for 2 weeks, I'm like, I could not get my head around it. You have I'm like, that's us on the map. I'm watching it go. We were freaked out. And from there, we flew to Australia, where it was right back to the good old days where they didn't have it. And we were like, that's too weird in Japan, man. That's crazy. And then the second one was in Sweden. Okay, a few years later, 1998, right?
Okay.
We're doing a big promotional thing. We're in Sweden, and we have to get on like a day coach, and we're going to do a TV show. Not in the city of Stockholm, but like it's way out. It's like an hour and a half out in the middle of the woods. And we get on this bus, and there's a guy from the record company on the bus with us, and we're all chatting, and he's a nice guy, and he's got his laptop out. And I look at him, and he's got what's obviously an email open, and he's replying to an email. And then he hit send.
Sure.
And it looked like it sent. And I'm like, but is that what we
flying icon, yeah.
And I was like, then I thought, it must just go in the outbox. And then when we get to where we're going, he'll plug in his laptop, and then he'll be on the internet. And I said to him, well, how's that? What are you doing? Are those will send later? And he goes, no, I'm just answering work emails. And I go, but I mean, you're sending an email right now? And as we're talking, I see an email come in, and I go, how are you doing that? And he said, it's on Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah. And I was like, what are you talking about? He said wireless internet on a moving vehicle. I'd never seen it in a stationary place, and it was on a bus in Sweden. And he was like, well, you've heard of the company Nokia, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, I have. And I was like, wow, I thought we were number one. Oh, man. And, of course, I said, well, we still got more Olympic gold and way more nuclear arsenals, so screw you, Sweden.
Yeah, and we won in 1980, so...
You got ABBA. We got the Eagles. Yeah, you suck. It's one of those things. But I remember thinking to myself, I was unexpectedly blown away on both of those occurrences.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The Waymo is something I've thought about, and I've decided like with most things now, I guess I'm old enough where all I think is I'm going to wait till there's several rounds of upgrades and developments. I'm just not in a hurry to be the first to do anything ever again.
That's fair.
Ryder can be the guinea pig.
That works for me.
Yeah. You just travel and experience the weird stuff of the future and tell us about it, okay?
Yes. Expense account that stuff. There we go.
That's...
My travel has been so mundane, knock on wood, that I have nothing to contribute to this conversation.
Nothing at all?
No. Everything's been so normal and easy.
Come on.
You never even eaten anything weird?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I've had plenty of weird stuff to eat. Tried whale in Iceland. Never will do that again because I think it's awful that they do that. But it's part of their.
And how did it taste?
Fishy.
It's a mammal. And it's not a fish, man.
We did the opposite of, and many people have done this, but we did the opposite of what you did in Japan, where it was all in the future. In Venice, you do the gondola. That's about as the opposite way of. Yeah. I don't think they have GPS on the gondolas. I think they know where they're going through the streets of. Have you been there?
I've never been to Venice.
Venice?
I've also never been to Iceland.
Okay. I don't want to tangent too far. Iceland is singly the greatest place on the planet. Period. The end. If we could move there, we'd already be gone. If it was that simple.
All right.
Family, et cetera, et cetera. They don't just let anybody in. All that. But Venice is that's the most bizarre place on earth, at least that I've been. I mean, think about it. Think about like walking out of you're like, honey, can you run up? We forgot milk. Can you go get milk?
Yeah. Walking
down the stairs, jumping into your boat to go down to the convenience store down the street. Like it's so just. The entire thing built on, stilts, essentially. It's nuts.
How did it smell?
It wasn't bad when I was there.
I've always imagined
heard that story.
Smells bad.
I've heard that story. We heard those stories. The water didn't look great, but it did. I didn't have any, there was no stench that we were just like, ugh.
You ever see A Little Romance, Diane Lane, Laurence Olivier, 1979?
Have not.
Yeah. Oh, it's a game changer, deal breaker. Whole thing about Venice. Couple of young runaway lovers, 14 years old.
It's a place to go.
That's when I discovered Diane Lane and my life changed for the better.
Yeah, that's a positive.
Remember, Diane Lane always ahead of Brooke Shields. That's the rankings. Once and forever. That's how it goes when you were born in 1965. That's your choices. Diane over Brooke. There, I've said it.
Noted.
It's Gorman in the morning with Fletcher and Ryder, 92 KQRS.
As we come to the end of show number 2.
Deuces.
Numero dos, if you prefer. Paul,
double your pleasure.
How you feeling? You okay over there?
I'm kind of, I'm sort of amazed that we're 2 in, just like that. This one, yesterday didn't fly by, but not in a bad way. Just kind of soaked it all in, you know?
Okay.
Today's flown by.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I feel like I'm walking on broken glass and bare feet. No, that's not true. I'm just
that's
saying.
because you haven't slept.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
That's normal. I'm used to that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So
it's been poultry.
I would like to say again, I don't mean to repeat myself, but I'm very appreciative of all of the comments on Facebook and on Instagram and on the KQ Talk and text line, positive, indifferent, or negative. It speaks to the passion people have for not just this radio station, but rock music in general and what the definition of rock music is. And for everybody who has sent in I mean, I just look up. Wally just texted, hell yeah, I'm loving the playlist, man. This is great. I've never heard it on the radio. I really do appreciate that. And I say this sincerely. I appreciate all the messages from people who are flipping out and calling me bad names. I get it. I love music. I guarantee you as much as anybody else. And it means a lot to me that this means so much to everybody else. And it can be, this ride can be bumpy. But we're having a good time, and we're going to continue to have a good time. and it's going to continue in the path that it's going. And we certainly hope, for those of you that are digging it, that you stay with us. And if you're not, we understand. I mean, it's nothing. There's a tendency, I think, in the modern era, if you will, in a world of social media, where you're not face to face with anybody.
Yeah.
You get somebody says something and you immediately want to respond, and it's a war of the words, and all of a sudden everyone's talking big and screw you, and you're silly and you don't know what you're doing. We get it, man. I have full respect for everybody that's going, you guys have lost your minds. I don't think we have. I'm very excited about what we're doing. And for the people who are digging it, then come lose your minds with us. How about that?
100% agree.
I like it.
Let's agree on that. Yeah. I had intended this weekend, I was going to go to Mankato and see Dylan, and some things have come up. I'm not able to do that. I'm bumming. Because I love me some Minnesota of Robert Zimmerman. That's just a fact of the matter.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to make the show, but he's in Eau Claire next week, I believe, at some point. But how about this? Did you know Jack White's in St. Paul next week, 2 nights?
Yeah, but that crap sold out instantly, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm not seeing Jack White.
I might know somebody.
Okay.
I might have known Jack White since he was a teenager.
I was just going to say, what's the name of the person you know?
You never know how these things work out, but that's a big week. We got a couple nights of Jack White coming up next week. We got AC/DC coming up next week.
Dude, those tickets are burning a hole in my app right now. I'm so excited.
It happens.
Hey, for whatever it's worth, I've never seen Jack White. Just throwing that out there.
All right, man. Well, I wish you the best of luck.
Oh, wow. Wow. I don't have your tenure yet, Ryder.
It's called YouTube.com. Have a great weekend.
Gorman in the morning is also Gorman on the go. Get the 92 KQRS app and stream live, or catch the Gorman in the morning podcast anytime. 92 KQRS.